Tremendous cute, tremendous cute, tremendous cute.
Who's your favorite pit master's favorite pit master?
Way!
Happy Halloween. Man, you know, holidays, I love having fun. So got a little mask. Actually, my daughter picked this one out. She's 3 and she's in love with this thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this thing back to her now. Hey, what's going on, you guys? Happy Halloween. It's your boy here, Wade Morris, owner of Pitmaster Tremendous Q. I am back with an awesome video. So this video is a long time coming. I've been messing around for a few weeks now. Been uploading a couple other videos, doing a lot of cooks, a little bit of traveling, and I'm finally getting around to getting this video up. So real quick, the background on this: I work in an office, and a couple of guys from my office went hog hunting. A few guys decided that they wanted to do whole hog for the office, but they didn't have a large enough cooker. So, you know, when they do that and I do this barbecue thing, great things happen. So they went hog hunting. They got about a 175-pound hog, and then I think 110. I'll go ahead and post a picture so you guys can see. It was a really awesome hunt. They were using the AR-15 and threw it through. So all throughout the video, I'll be showing you guys kind of I'll be showing you like where the bullet hole went through, how I prepped it, and it was a really fun cook. We got rid of all the gaminess, and the meat turned out great. So let's go ahead and get comfortable, kick back, and we'll get started on this wild hog video. Happy Halloween.
Alright, so let's get started by just walking you guys through all the different pieces. So this was actually 2 whole wild hogs, and they field dressed them and quartered them out. Now, I'm not going to walk you guys through the entire thing, but I wanted to show you the bullet hole on one of them. As you can see, I'm playing with it a little bit. I thought this was pretty cool. For me, this was my first time cooking an animal that was killed during a hunt. Most of my cooks are actually done with domestic animals, so I thought this was pretty cool to show you guys the bullet hole. And then again, we're taking out both the hogs piece by piece. We're just going to go ahead and bring them out. What I was noticing on all of this meat was that it was extremely lean. It was field dressed like crap. There was a lot of hair and a lot of silver skin left all over this meat, and that needed to be taken care of. So that's what we're going to be doing next. Okay, so let's start with cleaning up these ribs. Again, as I mentioned earlier, these things are extremely lean. The meat overall is extremely lean. Where normally you would have the baby backs, which is what my hands are on right now, and then the spare ribs, which are up towards the top. I just got one entire rib plate, and we're going to go ahead and remove the membrane on the back. So some of the folks asked me when I was dressing this thing, hey, was it anything different about it? The anatomy is the exact same. A wild hog, is a domestic hog, is a pig is a pig is a pig. But what I did notice, as I mentioned earlier, is how lean this meat was. There was virtually no fat riddled throughout it at all. And as I was looking at these ribs, I was almost positive that the pullback on these bones was going to be something ridiculous. It was either going to be something to be marveled at, or I was going to look at it and be like, holy crap, this is probably inedible meat. In the end, turns out everybody loved it. It definitely was some pullback. You'll see if you stick around to the end of the video, you're going to see there was definitely significant pullback on these bones, and they ended up turning into shiners. But such is life. You live and you learn, right? It was my first time cooking these things, and I definitely had a blast. So let's go ahead and get the rest of this meat trimmed off of these ribs. Again, I'm removing anything that looks, 1, inedible, or 2, like it is just all silver skin. And because this thing was field dressed in a hurry, as I'm going through, I'm ended up removing a lot of what looks like meat maybe from the angle, but is actually just a whole bunch of fat and excess skin. So all in all, it took me about an additional 3.5–4 hours to clean the entire thing, and I remember that because I was pissed off that I missed my Bears game. So now that we got everything clean, we're going to add 1, 2, 3, and 4 cups of salt. then we're going to add 1 cup of sugar, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we got 5 total cups of sugar. We're also going to do 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 cups of apple juice. So that's my brine. I use the apple juice because I wanted to go ahead and help break down some of those fibers. And we're going to let this thing brine for about 24 hours. We're going to throw some ice in the mix, and this thing is going to set, and it's going to start to break down some of that collagen. Again, this looks like a really lean meat, so we want to try to help remove some of that gaminess. All right. So fast forward 24 hours. I went to work, came home. I'm going to go ahead and light my pit up. This is at about 1 o'clock in the morning-ish. We're going to go ahead and light the pit up and then head inside and get our rub mix. So we're adding some paprika, some onion powder, some cumin. And as you're going through, you'll notice these are a lot of the same ingredients that I use in my rubs. Some black pepper, some garlic powder, and then a little red pepper flakes. So we're just going to go ahead and get everything mixed up, and then we're going to head out to the cooler. And we're going to, once we got all the meat pulled out, we're going to go ahead and mix the rub in right on the side of the meat as the pit is warming up. That way the meat can absorb some of the rub. With the meat pretty much rubbed down, I'm not going to let it sit on there too long, probably about an hour, hour and a half, and then we're going to head right over to the pit and get all this stuff thrown on. So, got my pit up to temp. We're going to go ahead and open these doors. I normally don't, you guys don't see me cook on my big rig very often, so I'm not going to do a whole bunch of editing right here. I want to show you guys kind of how I operate this bad boy, so you can see this thing in action. I think this may actually be the first video on YouTube that I have of my big pit. I call it Big Bertha in action. So we got both of our racks. We're going to go ahead and pull them both out. And then we're going to lay these pieces of barbecue on one at a time. And because this thing is already warmed up, the sizzle on this thing is really, really, really nice. Because I'm doing a voiceover, it's a little faint. But trust me, this thing is up to temp. It's on a reverse flow, so I got that large metal plate running under the bottom grate. And it is basically keeping the entire it's helping keep the entire temperature on the inside of my cooking chamber even. So we're going to be cooking these. We're going to be cooking both of these hogs at about 275-ish degrees. I wasn't 100% sure how long the entire cook process was going to take. It ended up being just under 8 hours, I believe, from the time that I lit my pit up until the time that I actually pulled everything off. So if I started it at 1, I pulled everything off at 9, and then they came to pick the hogs up at about 10 o'clock. So the meat got to rest. It takes about a half an hour to get to the base from my house. So the meat got to rest for about 90 minutes in between the time that I pulled it off and I went ahead and folks at the office got to go ahead and eat it. So as you can see, again, really lean piece of meat, and those were that was the ribs. That's actually where the smaller hog the larger hog got shot. He got hit twice, as a matter of fact. He got hit once in the ribs, and the other time was just behind the ears. So again, definitely not used to cooking wild hog. At this point I was kind of just making sure that I had all my meat where I thought it would cook the best. I know based on using my cooker so much after a few short months, I know where some of my hot spots are. I was trying to keep my thinner cuts basically away from those areas. So here's a close-up of all the meat on the grill. It looks awesome. There just ain't no two words about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and close these bad boys up. They're probably gonna get hit for about 2 to 3 hours, and then we're gonna come back, and now you see what the meat looks like after it's been getting hit with the smoke for a little while. Again, I was super impressed with how this meat was looking, the color that it was taking, the rub, so on and so forth. It all looked really good. In fact, I was so impressed. I'm going to show you guys again. So, again, yeah, 2 whole hogs. You can see the ribs up top. You can see the hams. You can kind of make out some of the pieces, some of the anatomy based on cooking a whole bunch of meat. So, after about 3 hours in the cooker, we went ahead and pulled everything off, and in my normal fashion when I'm dealing with pork, I'm going to wrap these bad boys up. So you can see the bones on the underside of it, and then me, as I'm kind of bending it a little bit, you can see just how thin it is, how wide and how thin it is, because the backs and the spares are together. We're going to go ahead and add our normal brown sugar, but in this particular cook I'm actually using apple juice instead of honey and butter. One, because it was so much meat and so much that I had to wrap, I wanted something that was going to be a little bit easier. And because I used apple juice in the brine already, I figured it would just complement really well with the meat that I was going to be, or with the way that I was going to be wrapping the meat and cooking it. So I went ahead and went with apple juice, ice, honey, and my normal parquet squeezed butter. So with the ribs wrapped up, we're actually going to go ahead and show you wrapping one more time, but I'm going to speed the video up a little bit. And this, again, just to give you guys kind of an idea of the wrap process that I did on this particular cook. So we got the sugar put on so we don't waste any of the apple juice, because it's definitely a lot more liquidy than, our parquet squeezed butter. We had to make sure that we kind of created a little pan for the foil so it didn't go ahead and run off. And here is the meat done. You can see those shiners on those ribs were crazy. And there is our pork Boston butt, wild style. Again, here's the piece where I was showing you at the beginning of the video. You can see that bullet hole there at the top. Right there. Yep, that's where that bad boy got shot. Menace maker. So, when the guys in your office do that hunting thing and you slide Q, this is the beautiful barbecue goodness that results. So show you guys real quick a close-up of the meat that I pulled off of the butt. There's no juice dripping out of this thing, but trust me, it was extremely moist. Color took, everything on this just looked really and turned out really well.
Happy Halloween.
Here's a couple of video or a couple of stills. I did it again, stumbling over my words. I did actually try the hog. It tasted phenomenal. Excuse me, my outro as I'm kind of wrapping things up. I do say that I didn't taste the hog because I was hopping right on the plane, but trust me, I tasted it, and this pig tastes great.
So what do you guys think? Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I managed to get rid of all the gaminess. I didn't actually get to eat any of the hog because like 3 hours after I sent that hog off, somebody from the office came and picked it up. One of the guys that actually went hunting, the guy on the left. As soon as I sent it off, I drove to the airport and hopped on a plane to head back over to the Middle East. So, but I got a bunch of emails when I got off the plane and I got into the office, my office there forward. And everybody loved the hog. They said it was great. They were really impressed with the fact that it didn't taste gamey at all. They said, hey man, this thing was really good. And I even got a couple other people asking me if they would have killed a whole hog if I would cook it for them. So obviously the answer to that is yes. I had a lot of fun doing it. So, I mean, I liked it. Real quick about the hog, to wrap things up, I liked it. It was really lean. As you go through, as you saw throughout the video, I mentioned it a couple of times, this thing was super lean. There was not a lot of fat on it at all. It was actually 2 hogs. I cooked them both together. They were all quartered out. I had to do a lot of cleaning because the field dressing basically sucked. So there's still a lot of hair, a lot of fat, and all that good crap on there. So I got rid of all of that. I brined it heavily, almost 24 hours, and then I went ahead and threw it on the smoker. So I think all in all it was a really good cook. I like the oak taste, the way it mixed with the wild hog. I think it turned out pretty excellent. It wasn't too strong, but at the same time it wasn't so simple or so light that it didn't have any taste at all. I think maybe next time a good accent would, like apple or maybe even cherry would go really good with this. So the color looked really well. When I turned it in, like I said, I got a lot of emails. A lot of people loved it, and they said it was a really awesome cook. So thank you guys for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, share with your friends, and check me out on Instagram as well, tremendous_Q. And we'll see you guys on the next video. All right, shut up and smoke. and we'll see you guys later.